Okay, so apologies for that. I'll start off again. So what we'll go through today is the invoice itself. I'll go through exactly how it would look going forward with the running transaction rather than the way it's presented at the moment. I'll cover off for centers who are or services who are not who don't require CCS. I'll go through the invoices and how they show without any references to CCS. I'll also cover a combination of billing in arrears and advance at the same time as well. Previously, that wasn't you weren't able to do that with the current invoicing system. So I'll show you exactly how that works going forward. And lastly, the CCS gap, the summary table down the bottom of the invoice previously averaged out the CCS over that particular period. That's not going to happen anymore. It will be a bit more accurate, and I'll show you exactly how that looks as well. Okay. I'm just going to admit a few more people in, so just give me a second. All right, cool. So let's kick off. So inside your dashboard itself, obviously at the moment, you'll go to invoices and payments, and you'll be presented with this screen right here. Okay, so this is live at the moment, this new feature, and you can get to it just by simply putting in a 2 at the end. So payments2.aspx, so you can follow this as well if you want to afterwards. Payments2.aspx, enter that, and you'll get presented with a screen similar to what, or pretty much identical to what what's available there at the moment. Right? The only difference is we don't ask for a start period anymore. All we need to do is invoice to an end period. So pretty much the Sunday, so to speak. This is where you can, if you're billing in arrears for last week, for example, you could do something like this, where you go 27th of March, generate your invoices, and it'll generate invoices up until the 27th of March. Again, you would obviously, if you're billing in arrears, if you try to put in that future date, it won't allow you, just like it does right now. For those billing in advance with estimation and so forth, again, all you need to do is pick a future date. So it could be the April the 3rd, the 10th, for example. Tap on that, generate invoices, and it will pretty much generate an invoice for you with a running transaction, as well as the CCS estimate as well. Right? For those who are billing in arrears and in advance at the same time, so pretty much what I'm saying is you're billing for last week, which is the 21st to the 7th, as well as the 28th to the 3rd. Obviously, you'll set that up under your CCS services detail. Select the 3rd here, generate invoices. You'll generate an invoice for you with the estimate. So with the CCS that was actually paid for last week, and no estimation on the following week as well. Okay, and lastly, if you haven't generated an invoice for a family, for example, for argument's sake, for the last month, but you also bill in advance, you can do that as well, and the system will work that out for you. Okay, so I'll show you some of the invoices that are generated down here. Once I tap that button here, it will generate the invoices for me. And again, you can pick and choose if it's a single family or if it's all families, and different tags and special conditions as well. Due date, invoice, a message on the invoice itself, and you'll generate invoice just like you do right now. I've got a couple that I've got 4 of them here that I've done prior. Okay, so obviously our Sunnyside Centre is not a CCS service, so obviously I can't bring in proper CCS and so forth. So I've generated a couple of dummy ones down here. The first one I'm going to show you is this no CCS one. Okay, so if I click on the little print icon here, you'll see this invoice. It looks pretty much similar to what you're accustomed to right now. So the amount due is 130. As you can see, there is no reference to CCS at all. Okay, so previously, if you were a service that didn't have CCS, you would have entitlement section appear down here, which was empty, and there was references to CCS and gap payments and whatnot. And you have the summary table below that as well. In this case here, this particular invoice that's been generated has your transaction summary. Okay, so opening balance of the 15th was 0. Attendances for this week, attendances for the 14th, attendances for the last week, which is the 21st. For OWNA, free session, $65. Plus 2 together is obviously 130. The amount due is 130, and there's obviously no CCS, no reference of CCS at all on this particular invoice itself. And as you can see, it's a running transaction log now, rather than that invoicing table that you previously saw, where you had a carryover balance and then any charges on top of that with the amount appearing down the bottom. Okay, so this is what you'll see going forward. I'll check the chat log while I'm at here. While I'm at it. So if you've got any questions and so forth, feel free to shout it out. It's just unmute yourself, shout it out, or enter it in the chat box itself. So Michael says the breakdown of daily charges as per current invoice. There is. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so let's have a look at the next invoice here. So in advance, so for those who are billing in advance, this is something. This is what you'll be able to see on your invoices going forward. So if I click on the little print icon there, the same deal as well. Pretty much looks similar to the previous one. The only difference here is obviously there's CCS. Okay, so we're billing in advance, so we're up until the 10th. So essentially, what I've done was I went up to here and go charge or charge the Lopez family here up until April the 10th, and this is the invoice that gets generated. Okay, so there's an opening balance of $495.86, and attendances for that particular week, the 28th to the 3rd, the 4th to the 10th. There's also a CCS estimate as well, so highlights in orange. Any estimates that are obviously in the future will be in orange, and anything that's paid already will be green, just like on your family transaction log. Okay, so the charge column, obviously any fees that this family has incurred, any credits that have been applied, whether it's one-off payments, whether it's payments straight into the services bank account or direct debit from an invoice and so forth, will appear as in the credit column, and that's what you'll get here. So total charges less the credit gives you the amount that's due. Down the bottom here, exactly what you see at the moment with your current invoices, your CCS entitlement. So the actual children, the attendances, the CCS itself, and the fortnight hours. Okay, so gone is the cap reach. That's obviously disappeared now. It's also disappeared from the invoice as well. And down the bottom here is a session breakdown. So hopefully that answers your question there, Marco. So there is a session breakdown of all your sessions, session of care, the session fee, the CCS estimate as well as the gap. Right? So these figures here are no longer averaged. So it's obviously a lot more accurate. They're no longer average. Based on entitlements, based on hours, based on the CCS weeks as well, you get a not 100% accurate, but obviously a fairly accurate estimate and gap payment as well for each individual family. Okay, I'll just check the chat again quickly before I go into the next one. Let me just have a quick look. Does it show the absences? Yes, it does. Hopefully you saw that. There's a question here. The system will refer back to previous invoices that were generated. Oh, sorry, that's Fong. I think Fong's banned in the chat. Okay, so that's good. Let me go back to the next one. Okay, so that's your in advance invoices there. Arrears, for those doing arrears, if I show you the invoice for arrears here, you'll see anything that have been paid will highlight green, and you'll see there's also the discount there as well. Okay, so I didn't mention this earlier, but there was obviously with the staff discount that came into play earlier this year, the invoicing system wasn't able to calculate the invoice correctly with the staff discount. This whole new rewrite of the invoices and transaction log caters for fee discount or staff discounts as well. So this is an example of a bill in arrears. So as 15th, opening balance of 131, a direct deposit was paid into the bank, into the centre's account of 100. Attendances for the 14th was 520, and you'll see the actual CCS that was paid to this particular family or this particular child, and also the fee discount as well. Let's assume OWNA is a child of a staff member in the service. You've given, in this case here, Sunnyside has given that family a certain amount in terms of discounts that will appear inside here as well. Okay, so you can see fee discounts for those four sessions. Same thing there on the following week as well. Okay, so 4 discounts there, $23.40. Same attendance fee, same CCS was paid as well. Gives me an amount of $83.99 that's due on this account. And same process here as well. You'll see the absences, the CCS, the fortnight hours, and a breakdown on this case here of those 8 sessions OWNA from the 14th all the way to 28th of March. Okay, so that's your bill in arrears family. Let me just have a quick squeeze at the questions as well, in case there's anyone there or any questions that I need to answer. Okay, so Crystal said, for children who max out their CCS hours in a fortnight, will the invoice still show the daily breakdown as an average? No, we won't. Okay, so it will work that out. So you'll see there's obviously CCS will be applied to the first few sessions, and as the entitlements or the fortnightly hours are reached and so forth, it will calculate that correctly for you. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question there. And yeah, you'll see obviously partial fees and that kind of stuff as well. Next one there is the arrears, no estimate the next. Okay, so this obviously not as popular as bill in advance with estimation or bill in arrears, but we have services who arrears 1 week and obviously advance the next without estimates to show you that particular invoice. So in that case there, I would do something similar to this, whereby I would say, I want to charge from 21st to the 7th, and also this week as well. I would choose the 3rd, generate invoice, and this is what I'll get. So if I quickly show you. So here, this case is 2 weeks in arrears and 1 week in advance. As you can see, for that particular week there, the 14th, that's obviously in the past already. CCS has been paid. This week here, which was last week, CCS has been paid already, but this one here is obviously happening this week, the 28th of 3rd. Hasn't finished just yet, so obviously there's no CCS. There's also no estimate as well. Okay, so this particular service here would bill in arrears for the previous week or 2 weeks, and then obviously bill in advance for the subsequent week with no estimation. So as you can see, opening balance of 270 credit, 270 charge, 208 is the CCS. Again, same process there as well. And then the last, and then this particular week here, the same fee, 270, but no CCS. All right, so 810 less 687 in credit gives me 122.66, and same process down the bottom here as well. Child's entitlement, CCS fortnightly hours, and then a breakdown there of the sessions and the CCS estimate. Okay, and as you can see, for that particular week here, which is this week here, the 28th to the 3rd, you'll see there's no CCS applied. Okay, because we're not estimating in this particular case there. So the previous weeks we had CCS applied. This week that's happening right now, it's being billed for, as you can see, 135, but no CCS estimate. Again, because it's not averaged out over the period. Then you got your gap payment of 135, which is that 270 that appears there. Right? So that's pretty much it. So all of this, I've tried to make it as simple as possible. All of these is pretty much just the only change you'll see is at the top here. You won't have to select the start date and the end date. All we're saying is, let's bill up my families, whether it's all families or whether it's by tags and so forth, up until a certain date. Okay, so in my case here, if I'm billing to the 3rd, I'm obviously billing in advance. All right, so depending on my setup, I could be billing in advance with estimation or no estimation. The invoices that are generated will reflect that. Okay. Any questions? Let's have a look. Let me just have a look at the chat. Any questions on that? I think it's pretty straightforward, but obviously I'm here to answer anything you might have here. Where's the setup for billing in advance to include or not include CCS estimate? So in here, under CCS, under activate update details, you'll see you have the option right here. So there's 4 methods: bill in arrears, bill in advance, no estimating, with estimation, and obviously arrears 1 week, no estimating the next. Okay. Just keep in mind, if you bill in arrears, you can't obviously get the system to generate invoices in the future. Okay. You have to submit the tendency to CCS before we generate an invoice. Yes, you do. All right. So if you don't, you're not going to get the correct CCS applied. Right. So for, if it was last week's sessions, obviously make sure you submit those sessions so that when you generate your invoices, they are applied. The actual CCS that has been paid will be applied to your invoices. If you don't, we don't estimate. Okay. So if the week has passed, we don't estimate at all. And the reason why we don't do that is it's going to cause confusion down the track, and you're going to forget this because you're going to you're gonna, when you generate your invoices, it's gonna look correct because, you know, we're estimating when the actual CCS hasn't been paid. You forget all about it. You don't submit your sessions. You don't get paid. All of a sudden, you know, you don't find that out until, you know, 3 or 4 weeks down the track. So that's why we never estimate when the week has passed. Okay, so if you're generating invoices right now and you haven't submitted your sessions for last week, there'll be no CCS applied to your invoice. So that, again, it gets picked up straight away. So you know straight away, right? You know, these balances don't look right. Let's have a look and obviously submit my sessions for that particular week. Louise Muffet, disappointed we can't just do a date range. The invoices will get very long by the end of the year. I am not sure what you mean there, Louise. Feel free to clarify on the chat there. How many weeks of billing arrears on an invoice? We bill weekly. You can bill in arrears on the invoices as long as you like. Okay, so it could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, a week, entirely up to you. Obviously, that just means you're not going to get paid as quick as you like. That's all. Will carryover debt still show in the invoice? It will. Okay, the carryover debt is the opening balance. Okay, so in the actual invoice itself, you'll see in here there's a opening balance. Okay, so that opening balance is a balance at that particular point in time. So whether it's a credit, whether it's a debit or in arrears and so forth, that amount there we either show in the charge column or the credit column. So it just doesn't say, doesn't show as carryover balance. It's an opening balance as of that particular date. When is this effective from? Can we use it for this week? You can use it for this week. What I'll get you to do is, if you want to, we're going to roll this out probably in the next week or so. Okay, but if you want to start testing it, all you need to do, as I mentioned earlier, is go to families, go to invoices, and at the moment it will take you to the main invoice screen. All you need to do is at the end of the S here, just append the 2 and just don't change anything else. So it's payments.aspx, and if you just press enter on that, you'll get taken to the new invoicing screen here. And within this screen, this is where you can start generating invoices like I have right here. Okay, so keep in mind it is live, but when I say live, it's not viewable unless you change that particular URL. Going forward, we'll swap that out automatically so that when you click on invoices and payments under families, it will go straight to this screen right here. Okay, but yes, you can start using it right now. What date does the invoice start? Okay, so the invoice, Louise, will start from the last credit date. So it will work out when the last credit has gone into the system from your previous invoice, and it'll generate it from that point in time. So we have an opening balance as of that particular point in time. So in this case here, there's one here for the 19th. There's obviously a credit before that particular date. So hence it puts a opening balance of that date there, and it'll generate your statement from that particular point. Okay, so you're not going to get a massive long list, so to speak, which is I think what you were referring to a bit earlier. Will you have a parent cheat sheet to step them through how to read the new invoice? Yes, we will. We'll get that updated. At the moment, it's obviously referencing the current invoicing or invoicing PDF or screen. We will have a parent cheat sheet that has the new look and feel here with the arrows going to different places and guiding parents exactly how to read it. Okay. Do you reckon starting from this week, I charge for next fortnight, this Friday, or should I use the old system? Entirely up to you. Okay, so you can use the old system, you can use the new one right now. But there's no right or wrong answer. You're going to get the same results. Okay, the only difference is obviously you have a running transaction on this particular invoice rather than the old invoicing method or the look and feel. Would there be a refresh button on the new invoice setting? Yes, there will. Whatever you're using right now will remain. Okay, so you can still refresh an invoice and it'll generate a new invoice with the updated transaction log here. On April the 4th, I want to, let me just read something. On April the 4th, I want to invoice for the period of 25th to the 3rd of July. We invoice to the term. How do I do this? All you need to do is in here, go all the way to July the 3rd and go generate invoices. That's all you need to do, Sandra. Will the new look be mirrored on the app as parents see things that often can't match on my side? Yes, it will. Okay, so the app itself would have the transaction log, and at the top there's the latest invoice that appears. If they click on that, they'll see something similar to what you see here. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question there, Steph. Can families be invoiced on different fortnight weeks on auto invoicing? Yes, you can. All right, so yes, you can. So all you need to do is in here, under family accounts. So at the moment, I've got this particular Adams family here on the next period starting. Obviously, this is a demo system, but I have this particular one here. Next billing date is the 28th for the period of the 14th of March for 2 weeks. Obviously, billing in arrears for this particular family on the 28th, which is obviously yesterday, billing for the week of the 14th and onwards. And you'll see for this other family here, these are all old dates, but let's argument's sake, let's say they're happening right now. So for this particular family right here, their next billing date is the 7th of February for the 31st of January for 1 week. Okay, so to answer your question, Emily, yes, you can obviously invoice families on different weeks on auto invoicing, and you can also do it manually there as well by setting it up on each individual family account. Sandra, did you do it on the new invoicing system? I assume you did. Okay, well, I can take a look at that offline for you. Okay, so it might be a different setup on your end there. So I'll check your configuration after I get off this, and I'll check the invoice and see what it looks like for you. So Sandra's having issues generating invoices up until July the 3rd. So it might just be a setup thing that's not set up correctly. Came up with the wrong dates. Okay, that's fine. I'll take a look at that offline. Yeah. Where can I find information about applying staff discount? If you just look at the tutorial, so any of our just click on this tutorial link here. Okay, tutorial guides. Let me just open that up. That might not work on my side. It doesn't. Okay, cool. Let me just do this quickly. All you need to do is click on that tutorial link, and generally what happens is it'll come to this page here. And if I just do a search on staff discount at the top, staff discount, there it is there, staff discount. Unless I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure we have a staff discount tutorial. I can't find it here, Susie. I thought we did. Okay, so I'll take that offline. I'll find that particular staff discount, and I'll send that through to you. But there is a tutorial. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere here where it goes through exactly how to set up staff discounts and so forth. So Marcos, with the new system, we can no longer generate invoice for a set period. No, you just bill up until a certain period, okay, and the system will work that out for you. So you don't have to say bill me for or bill a particular family for the next 2 weeks. You just have to put in the end date, and the system will work that stuff out for you. Okay, so we'll work out when the last credit was and so forth, and it'll generate that invoice for that particular period for you. Okay, so Steph said, I have a parent meeting tomorrow who is constantly confused, who you are constantly confused with the app info. Will there be a confirmed date? You look for the app so I can send PDFs using new options until the app changes over. So it doesn't matter, Steph. When I say it doesn't matter, when you generate your invoices now and you're using the old system, on the app itself, it still display the current old invoice itself. So the system will be smart enough to display that particular invoice in the old method or the new method, depending on how you create your invoices. Okay, so with the actual changeover, we'll send this out via formal communication, but we probably be sometimes next week or so. So we're still fixing up a few things here. So it's pretty much 99% ready to go. Just tweaking up a few things in terms of display and whatnot, and we'll get that sent out sometimes next week or so. But again, we'll formally communicate that to everyone so that you're not, so you're fully aware of it. And we might have an option where you can obviously revert back to the old one as well. If we know some centers are obviously comfortable with the old one, they understand it completely. We'll have the option to pick and choose which one you want to use. But by default, the running transaction would be the default method. Okay. When it generates from the last credit, is that CCS credit or the parent payment credit? So it'll be parent payment credit. So parent payment credit, and from there on, we'll generate the next batch of transactions on your invoices. Is there a way to generate from the last invoice rather than the last credit? So what happens there is if a family hasn't paid that particular invoice, okay, if the family hasn't paid that particular invoice, that amount there will appear on there. So it's those transactions that haven't been paid for and so forth will appear on that particular new invoice, so that families can see. Obviously they didn't pay last time, and then obviously these are the previous transactions that weren't paid for, and these are the additional new ones that have been applied to it. Okay, so that's why we've done it that particular way. Just keep in mind, obviously this is still in beta, so you can obviously use this, but feel free to shoot us through any suggestions. If you've got suggestions in terms of how you want to configure it, for example, like obviously we're seeing right now, some want last invoice, some want last credit of the actual CCS. Let us know. Then perhaps we can obviously look at putting a configuration at the top there when you generate your invoice to generate it from, say, last invoice or last credit or last CCS credit and the likes. So if parents pay in advance, how it will show? So it will just show. It will show a credit on the actual transaction log itself. That's Louise. The question there was, if parents pay in advance, how would it show? So again, if they're paid in advance, it's when you say advance, are you talking about in the future, as in, let's just say today's 29th, so I assume 31st or something like that, or 30th of March. I'm guessing you mean credits that might appear in their account for a term in advance, and when you run the next invoice, what would it show then? Okay, so if you charge by the terms, obviously that particular family has paid at a certain date, so that transaction line item itself will show up as a credit on the transaction log itself, and then obviously that will balance out the actual amount itself, but the transaction will appear as a credit. Maybe run some examples at your end, Louise. Run some examples at your end, see what it looks like, and then obviously you can always come back to us in terms of how it works. So Kay's put up a video there on how to apply the staff discount. Okay, so maybe we don't have a tutorial, but we have a video tutorial there. I knew we had something, but it looks like Kay's found it there and posted it up on the chat there. So if you're looking for that staff discount tutorial, just click on that YouTube link right there. Any other questions? One thing I wanted to mention. One thing I wanted to mention was we're seeing a lot of emails come through on a Monday, just stating that when you run your invoices, you're not seeing CCS applied. There's a reason for that. Keep in mind on the Monday when CCS payments come through, the system puts priority on services who does auto invoicing. Okay, so it will pull down their CCS payments, and it will check CCS payments every few hours or so. So it makes them the priority. If you're doing it manually, you would just need to simply go to in here under CCS, go to CCS payments and make sure, this is obviously for this week, you select that particular week's date. So in my case, let's say this was yesterday, obviously, I'll go to 28th to 28th and get payment report. If you see your payment report for last week, so don't choose the 21st, all right? 21st is going to get your payments for the 14th. What you want is the 28th. With CCS dates, everything is obviously for that particular week. The only difference is payments. All right, so payments, what you're saying is get me payments as of this date, and it'll pull back any payments from say last week, and you might get back payment from a session that happened 2 months ago. So you need to select the actual date for that payment. So you go 28th to 28th and go get payment report, all right, or 29th in my case, because it's Tuesday right now. Get payment report. If you see payments, in this case here for the 21st, you know you've got your payment report, you can start generating your invoices after that. Okay, so we've had a few emails come through on a Monday about that. So again, just repeat, we give priority to centers who are auto invoicing, because the system will auto generate their invoices and so forth. And they generally, you know, to be honest, they're not checked all the time. So that's why we want to make sure that CCS is being applied. And to do that, obviously we make priority to pull down their CCS first before any other services. There is an automated job in the background that pulls down your CCS. But when you generate your invoices on a Monday, it might not have kicked off just yet. All right, or it might have kicked off earlier when no CCS has been applied just yet. So again, you just need to go into your CCS payment report, run that payment report, get report. You see your CCS for that week, you know you're good to go with invoicing. Any other questions? I think it's pretty straightforward. We've tried to, or I've tried to keep it the same as what was there now. So there's not major wholesale changes. Obviously only on the invoice itself, but in terms of getting there, it all should be the same. All functionality that you're used to should be there as well, or should be the same on that payment screen. If there's no other questions, I think we can wrap it up. I'll just stick around for another couple of minutes just to see if any questions pop up. I'm just flicking through the chat logs here just to see if I missed anything. So someone said, if you're on automatic invoicing, we don't generate for, do we? We don't generate. Can't read that properly. I assume the question is, if you're on automatic invoicing, you don't generate your own invoices. You don't generate your own invoices. All right. So if you're on automatic invoicing, let the system do its thing. Don't go and create subsequent invoices for families, okay? Because you will, in theory, if you're on automated debiting as well, you will in theory debit that family twice. Okay, so don't if you're on automatic invoicing, let the system do its thing. You know, if you want to manually redo that invoice, just refresh it, and then it'll generate the same invoice for you. You know, obviously, and remove that particular old invoice. So I've seen it a couple of times where someone's gone ahead and the system's automatically generated an invoice, and they've gone ahead and created their own invoice for that particular family, and it's kind of double charged them as well. So just keep that in mind. How do I set up auto invoicing? Okay, so under here, under activate update details, down the bottom here, you have the option here to create system to automatically create invoices. You'll turn that on. And at the same time, if you want automatic debits as well, you would tick that particular item right here. Once you have auto create invoices on, you need to make sure that your families have a starting date, so to speak. So under Adams here, what I'm saying is for this particular family, I want the next billing date to be the 28th. So let's argument's sake, let's just say I bill in advance and I want to create an invoice next week. So I want to say for the 4th I want to bill for the period of the 28th, for example, here. And this is obviously going to change slightly once we switch over to the transaction method here. And I want to do it for 1 week. So what this is saying to the automated system is on the 4th of April, create an invoice for the period of the 28th for 1 week. Okay, so it's going to generate an invoice for the 28th to the 3rd of April, which obviously you only go to the Friday for 1 week, and whatever that attendance is and CCS estimate is what will be presented in the invoice itself. So hopefully that answers your question there, Cheryl, about setting up auto invoicing. So there is auto invoicing. There's also auto debiting as well. You don't have to have both. You can have one or the other. So you can have automated invoicing, but debit families yourself, or you can generate your own invoices manually, but then have auto debiting on. Okay, so you have the flexibility to do one or the other or both. All right, so Crystal said, sorry if I missed the answer to this, but can I confirm I can put the 2 into the URL and generate invoices in the new format this week? 100%. Okay, so what I recommend, Crystal, is maybe run a invoice for one or two families just to have a look at it. And if you're happy with that, then go ahead and do all families. And the app itself will be updated overnight to have the new format as well. Okay, so at the moment, the new format in terms of the actual invoice itself will appear on your portal there, but on the family side of things, it will be available in the app as well if you do choose to create your invoices today with that new format. Any other questions? So Crystal said, great, very happy with the new format, thank you. Excellent, so glad you liked it. I think that's it. I don't see any more questions coming through. So what I'll do is, yes, you can, Cheryl. This is recorded, and we'll get this put up on our YouTube channel as well. I think you can watch it on our Facebook community page as well. All right, so hopefully I didn't mess that up at the start, but it should be live streamed to our Facebook community page. If not, there is the recording itself will go out sometimes, hopefully tomorrow or so, on our private YouTube channel. Okay, I'll leave you guys to it. I don't see any more questions coming through, so I'll leave you guys to it. Again, it should be straightforward, but if you got any questions, feel free to send it through to support. But again, jump on, have a play with it, generate a couple of invoices, see what it looks like, and if you've got any feedback, do let us know. We are going to roll this out sometimes next week. So if you've got any changes that you'd like to see or any improvements, do let us know, and then we'll see what we can do before we actually push this out live. Okay. Other than that, thanks guys. Thanks for joining, and I'll talk to you again soon. See ya.